Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we confuse difficulty with defeat. When the path gets steep, when the results don't come as fast as we hoped, or when everything feels like a constant uphill battle, we start believing the lie that maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe we weren't cut out for this. Maybe it's over. But the truth is, the presence of struggle doesn't mean the absence of purpose. In those moments, it's easy to believe the hard part means something is wrong. But what if the hard part is exactly what's right? What if the resistance isn't a sign to stop, but a sign that you're on the edge of a breakthrough? Every great story includes conflict. Every powerful testimony includes a trial. There's a refining that happens when things get tough, not just around us, but in us. We become more patient, more intentional, more aware, more grateful. And ironically, it's often when we feel weakest that we're actually growing the most. Think about anything valuable in life, meaningful relationships, a healthy body, spiritual depth, a dream worth chasing. None of it comes without challenge. If it's worth having, it's worth fighting for. But the fight doesn't always feel good. There are days it feels like you're giving your best and getting nothing in return. There are nights when sleep escapes you, not because of noise outside, but because of the noise within. Questions, doubts, pressure. God is not the enemy. In fact, it's often the very thing shaping us into who we need to become. Growth doesn't happen on the mountaintop. It happens in the grind, in the sweat, in the moments where we feel like nothing is working, but we keep showing up anyway. That's where resilience is formed. That's where character is tested. That's where strength is born. It's tempting to look around and compare your journey to others who seem to be winning with ease. But what you don't see is their struggle. Everyone has one. No one gets a free ride through life. So don't judge your behind the scenes by someone else's highlight reel. The process doesn't always make sense in the moment. You might be planting seeds today that won't grow for months, maybe even years. And that's okay. Some of the most beautiful things take time to grow. And they're worth waiting for. So if you're in a season where everything feels heavy, where progress feels invisible, and quitting whispers your own name daily, don't rush the process. Let it do its work. Let it stretch you. Let it shape you. Because hard isn't hopeless. It's a sign you're on the path where real change happens. We often show others kindness, patience, and grace. But when it comes to ourselves, we tend to be our harshest critics. How many times have you told a friend to keep going when they were struggling, but when you faced a similar situation, you told yourself to give up? We're great at encouraging others, but when it's our turn to face adversity, we often forget the very same words of comfort we would offer to those we care about. So if you're in a season where everything feels heavy, where progress feels invisible, and quitting whispers your own name daily, don't rush the process. Let it do its work. Let it stretch you. Let it shape you. Because hard isn't hopeless. It's a sign you're on the path where real change happens. We often show others kindness, patience, and grace. But when it comes to ourselves, we tend to be our harshest critics. How many times have you told a friend to keep going when they were struggling, but when you faced a similar situation, you told yourself to give up? We're great at encouraging others, but when it's our turn to face adversity, we often forget the very same words of comfort we would offer to those we care about. What you're facing right now, the delays, the closed doors, the discouragement, it's not proof that you should give up. It's proof that you're in it. You're doing the real work. You're walking through the fire that forges purpose. That fire doesn't destroy you, it defines you. Pain and pressure reveal what's inside. When things are hard, you find out what you truly believe. You find out how deep your faith runs. You discover strength you didn't know you had. You become the kind of person who can not only handle the blessing you're asking for, but sustain it when it comes. Treating yourself like someone in your life is about recognizing your worth, even when you're not at your best. It's about acknowledging that just like those around you, you deserve the same compassion, understanding, and support that you give freely to others. Too often, we get stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and comparison, where we judge ourselves by unrealistic standards and expect perfection. This leads to burnout, discouragement, and eventually a loss of self-esteem. So the next time you're faced with a challenge or you feel like you've fallen short, remember to treat yourself like someone you love. Speak to yourself with kindness. Offer yourself the same support you would offer a friend, and allow yourself the space to be human. You are worthy of the same love and care that you so freely give to others, and it's time to start giving it to yourself. But what happens when it's you who is in the struggle? Why is it so much harder to show ourselves that same kindness? We tend to judge ourselves more harshly than anyone else could, and we often hold ourselves to higher standards, expecting perfection in situations where nobody could succeed flawlessly. When things get tough, we tend to focus on everything that's gone wrong. The mistakes, the missteps, the times but the truth is, we are all works in progress. Nobody gets everything right all the time. And that's okay. What matters is the effort we put in and the growth that happens along the way. When you learn to treat yourself like someone you love, you give yourself permission to rest, to recharge, and to heal. You stop running on empty, constantly pushing yourself beyond your limits because you feel like you're not doing enough. You begin to realize that taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically is not selfish. It's necessary. Just like you wouldn't ask a friend to keep giving from an empty well, you can't keep giving to others when you've neglected your own needs. Treating yourself like someone you love also means setting boundaries. It means knowing when to say no, when to step back, and when to protect your peace. You wouldn't let someone you love be pushed to their breaking point, so why would you allow it to happen to yourself? Respecting your own needs and setting healthy boundaries is not only a form of self-respect, it's also a way of ensuring that you can continue to show up for others in a meaningful way. And when you treat yourself with love and compassion, something powerful happens. You begin to see yourself differently. You start to recognize your own worth. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize that you are enough just as you are. You stop seeking external validation and begin to find strength in your own self-acceptance. You start to appreciate the unique journey that has shaped you into who you are today. It's about being kind to yourself when things go wrong, not beating yourself up over what you could have done differently. We are all human and we all make mistakes. We all face setbacks and we all have moments when we feel like we're not enough. But in those moments, it's important to remember that you are enough. Your worth isn't defined by your mistakes, your failures, or your past. It's defined by who you are as a person worthy of love, grace, and Imagine for a moment that you're talking to someone you love, a family member, a friend, or even a stranger who's struggling. What would you say to them? You would probably encourage them to keep going, to believe in themselves, to remember that the setbacks they're experiencing don't define their future. You'd remind them that everyone faces challenges and that it's okay to stumble sometimes. You wouldn't tell them they weren't good enough or that they should just give up. Remind them that they are valuable, worthy, and capable of overcoming whatever comes their way. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same care that you would give to others. It's about being gentle with yourself, especially when things don't go as planned. It's about recognizing that you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect from others or yourself. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders or hold yourself to impossible standards. In fact, you can't carry it all, and that's okay. When we panic, we operate from a place of fear, reacting instead of reflecting. We allow our emotions to dictate our decisions rather than taking the time to respond thoughtfully. Panic tends to focus on the problem and amplify the negative possibilities. We look at the situation and feel hopeless, convinced that there's no solution, that we've reached the end of the road. But that's the lie panic tells us, that we're at the end of the line. In reality, we're just in the middle of the process. And panic keeps us from seeing that. In moments of uncertainty, when life feels overwhelming and everything seems out of control, it's easy to slip into panic. Panic clouds the mind, heightens anxiety, and leads us to make impulsive decisions. It tells us that things are worse than they really are, that there is no way out, and that we're trapped. But when we're consumed by panic, we lose sight of the bigger picture. We forget that we have the ability to pause, breathe, and step back for a moment of clarity. In those moments, it's important to recognize that choosing to pray instead of continuing in panic can bring a sense of peace that transcends the situation. Choosing to pray also shifts our focus from our limitations to the possibility of something greater. When we're in panic mode, we often forget the resources we have, our strengths, our support system, and most importantly, our faith. Prayer is an act of surrender, an acknowledgement that we don't have all the answers and that we can't do everything on our own. It's a reminder that it's okay to ask for help, to lean on something greater than ourselves. When panic takes hold, it can feel like our world is spinning out of control and we're powerless to stop it. Our thoughts race, our heart pounds, and every small obstacle becomes a massive hurdle. But prayer, whether it's a simple whisper of hope or a moment of deep reflection, brings us back to a place of groundedness. It helps us remember that we are not defined by the chaos around us. Prayer shifts our focus from the problem to the possibility. It invites stillness even when everything feels loud. It's easy to feel like we need to have it all figured out, that we need to be strong and capable in every situation. But when we're honest with ourselves, we know that's not always possible. There are moments when we are going to feel vulnerable, uncertain, and overwhelmed. In those moments, choosing to pray is an act of humility. It's saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that I'm not facing this alone. It's a moment of releasing control and opening ourselves up to guidance, peace, and the strength to move forward. In faith requires action. It's not enough to simply believe that things will work out. Faith demands movement. It's a conscious decision to take one step at a time, even when the path is unclear. This doesn't mean that fear will disappear instantly, but it does mean that we choose to keep moving forward despite it. Each step we take in faith, no matter how small, shifts our perspective and builds our resilience. The more we walk, the more we discover that we are capable of handling far more than we ever imagined. Fear often presents itself as a warning, a signal that something important is at stake. And that's true in many cases. Fear arises when we step outside our comfort zone, when we face the unknown, or when we attempt something that seems bigger than ourselves. But rather than allowing fear to paralyze us, we can choose to see it as an invitation to lean into our faith. We may not know what lies ahead, but we trust that we are equipped for the journey. Walking in faith means trusting that even though we can't control everything, we are not walking alone. We trust that there is purpose in the process and that each step, no matter how uncertain, is moving us closer to where we're meant to be. In prayer, we also find comfort. When we feel like everything is unraveling, when we're unsure of the next step, prayer reminds us that we are not in this alone. There's a sense of solace in knowing that we don't have to have all the answers immediately. We don't need to figure everything out at once. Prayer allows us to breathe, to trust, and to find peace in the unknown. It reassures us that even in the midst of uncertainty, we are held, supported, and loved. Moreover, prayer creates space for reflection. It allows us to quiet the noise and hear our own thoughts more clearly. When we're panicking, our minds are flooded with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. We become so consumed with the negative possibilities that we fail to see the potential for a positive outcome. Prayer helps us regain focus. It gives us the chance to step away from the frantic energy of panic and reflect on the situation with a clearer mind. We can assess what we need to do, what we can control, and what we need to release. The difficulty we face is often part of the process, not a sign that we're failing. It's easy to become discouraged when things aren't happening quickly or when progress feels invisible. But the breakthrough is happening in the moments where we persist, even when we don't see immediate results. Every effort we make, no matter how small it may seem, is moving us closer to the success we seek. Sometimes the only thing standing between where we are now and where we want to be is one more step, one more try, one more risk, one more push through the discomfort. The truth is, running from fear doesn't protect us, it only limits us. Instead of running from fear, we are called to walk in faith. Walking in faith doesn't mean the absence of fear. In fact, faith often walks hand in hand with fear. It means that despite the fear, we choose to move forward, trusting that we are not alone and that we are capable of facing whatever challenges lie ahead. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's the courage to keep moving forward in spite of it. Prayer is not a magical fix to every problem, but it provides us with something essential: perspective. It helps us pause and gain a clearer view of our circumstances, our emotions, and our thoughts. Instead of reacting out of fear, we can choose to take a step back, invite calmness, and center ourselves. Prayer opens up a channel to something greater than ourselves, a source of wisdom, peace, and clarity. It reminds us that we are not alone, that there is a higher power at work even when we can't see the path forward. Choosing to pray doesn't mean ignoring the reality of a situation or pretending that things aren't difficult. It's not a way to bypass challenges or avoid the hard work that lies ahead. But prayer shifts the atmosphere from one of panic to one of peace. It invites us to slow down, to breathe, and to trust in the process, even when we don't understand it. It doesn't change the external circumstances immediately, but it changes us internally. It transforms how we approach the problem and equips us with the clarity, strength, and peace we need to face whatever lies ahead. When fear tries to keep us stuck, walking in faith becomes a declaration that we are not defined by our doubts. We are not bound by the limitations that fear tries to impose on us. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of overthinking, imagining the worst case scenario and allowing our fears to dictate our decisions. But when we choose to walk in faith, we take our focus off the what is and place it on the I can. Faith doesn't ignore the fear. It acknowledges it, but chooses to move forward anyway. One of the most powerful aspects of walking in faith is that it changes the way we see the world. Fear tells us to shrink back, to play small, to hold on tightly to what we know. Faith, however, invites us to stretch, to grow, and to expand into new possibilities. When we walk in faith, we don't just see obstacles, we see opportunities. We don't just encounter challenges, we encounter growth. We begin to realize that the things we once feared are not as insurmountable as we thought, and the more we walk in faith, the less power fear has over us. Walking in faith means allowing ourselves to embrace the discomfort of the unknown, to take risks even when we're afraid, and to move forward with the confidence that we are not walking alone. Faith tells us that even in our vulnerability, we are strong. Even in our uncertainty, we are guided. And even in our fear, we are equipped. The journey may not always be smooth, but each step we take in faith draws us closer to the person we are becoming. The more we walk in faith, the more we become who we were always meant to be. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience. It can grip us unexpectedly, sending waves of doubt, anxiety, and hesitation through our minds. It often holds us back, keeps us from stepping out, and convinces us that we're not ready, capable, or worthy. When fear rises, it feels safer to retreat, to stay within the comfort of what we know, where the risk of failure is minimized and the chance of discomfort is reduced. In avoiding fear, we may also be avoiding growth, opportunity, and the possibility of something greater. Faith also opens our hearts to a deeper trust in the process. When we choose to walk in faith, we are not walking toward a specific outcome or trying to control every detail. We are walking with the belief that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. The process of stepping out, even when it's difficult, teaches us lessons that are often more valuable than the destination itself. Faith allows us to surrender our need for certainty and control and trust that there is purpose in every step we take, even when we don't fully understand the path. Fear may try to hold us back, but walking in faith is our declaration that we are moving forward anyway. We may not always know where we're going, and the road ahead may be filled with challenges, but we trust that the one who calls us forward is with us every step of the way. Walking in faith is not about ignoring fear. It's about stepping out in courage, knowing that with each step, fear becomes smaller and faith becomes bigger. And in that space, we discover our true strength, our true purpose, and the life we were always meant to live. Breakthroughs often don't look the way we imagine. We envision a sudden shift, a moment where everything aligns perfectly, where all the pieces fall into place with ease. The reality, however, is that breakthroughs are often the culmination of small steps, each one building upon the last. Sometimes we're so focused on the distance to the finish line that we fail to see how close we actually are to reaching it. In those moments when we feel like giving up, it's crucial to remind ourselves that we might be just one step away from the change we've been working toward all along. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going the way we imagined. We often set out with big dreams and high expectations, only to face roadblocks, setbacks, and moments where progress feels painfully slow. When the goal seems distant and the obstacles seem unmovable, it's tempting to believe that we've hit a wall, that we've reached the end of the road. But what if the breakthrough we're searching for isn't as far away as we think? What if it's only one step beyond the discouragement, the doubt, or the struggle we're facing right now? In moments of difficulty, it's helpful to remember that the road to success is rarely linear. It's filled with ups and downs, twists and turns, detours and delays. But it's in those moments of struggle that we often grow the most. The resistance we face is not a sign that we should stop. It's often a sign that we are on the verge of something great. Every challenge we encounter teaches us something valuable. A lesson in resilience, patience, or persistence. It's easy to assume that setbacks are signs of failure, but more often than not, they're stepping stones leading us toward breakthrough. Think about some of the most successful people you know, whether they're entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, or leaders. They've all faced moments when it felt like success was out of reach. They've all had times when they doubted themselves, when the road ahead looked uncertain, or when they felt like they were running out of options. But what sets them apart is that they didn't give up. They kept moving forward. Even when the path was unclear, they understood that the breakthrough often comes when we push through the moments of uncertainty and keep going, even when it feels like we're not making progress. So when you're feeling like you're at your lowest point, when the road ahead seems impossible, remember that your breakthrough might just be one step away. You might not be able to see it yet, but every moment you keep pushing forward is a step toward the change you've been working for. It's often the moment of struggle, when it feels hardest to keep going, that lead to the most powerful transformations. The key is to keep taking those steps even when you don't feel like it. Trust that your efforts are making a difference, even if you can't see it in the moment. Breakthroughs are rarely instant. They are the result of perseverance, faith, and the decision to keep moving forward, one step at a time. And sometimes the very breakthrough you're seeking is closer than you think. Just one more step away from the breakthrough you've been waiting for. This is where faith and perseverance come in. It's easy to lose hope when things aren't moving as quickly as we'd like, but staying committed to the journey is often the key to unlocking the breakthrough. It requires trust in ourselves, trust in the process, and trust that our efforts are not in vain. The truth is that many breakthroughs happen just when we're about to give up, when we've exhausted all options and feel like we've reached our limit. The difference between success and failure is often the ability to keep going just one step further, even when it seems like the end is nowhere in sight. The breakthrough might not come in the way we expect, and it might not come as soon as we want, but it will come if we stay the course. The work we put in today, the choices we make now, the risks we take, all of these things matter. They are part of the process, even if we don't see immediate results. And when the breakthrough finally happens, we'll look back and realize that all the steps we took, even the ones that felt small or insignificant at the time, led us exactly where we needed to be. As you stand on the edge of doubt, feeling as if you're on the verge of giving up, remember this: your breakthrough might be just one more step away. The journey hasn't been easy, and at times it may have felt like you've given all that you have only to see little change. But even in those moments of struggle, growth is happening. Your efforts are not in vain. Each step, each challenge, each ounce of perseverance is moving you closer to something extraordinary. The breakthrough you're waiting for could be just beyond your sight. One more step from the comfort of what you know. Keep going, even when you can't see the finish line. The strength to continue, even in the face of uncertainty, is what will carry you through. Remember, it's not the distance that matters, it's your determination to keep moving forward. Your moment of transformation could be just one step away, so take that step with faith, courage, and an unwavering belief that your breakthrough is on the other side. Thank you.